Kaunas. I'm an architect originally, but I'm really involved with all the public spaces and public participation events, because I'm not only interested about the designing space, but I know that architect is also responsible for who they are designing the spaces. So I'm very interested in how the spaces are used. And 3 years ago we started this project TẽKA, which in Lithuanian language has a lot of meaning. The word itself, it means a flow, and you can transform this word in many ways. And I was supposed to be today here with Rasa CHMIELIAUSKAITÐ because we were presenting the slide, so I'm just mentioning here him. Okay, that's not very... Okay, so why we started to talk about this? Because actually 3 years ago we noticed that there's a huge gap between how the city is presenting itself in the nice pictures. I was talking about this last year in Co-Urbanism. So at that time we were only focusing on one small space, just doing the trials and seeing like how people are reacting into the river. What's the role of the river in the city? So we noticed that there are two separate states. It's the river and the culture, and they're completely separated. They're not working together. And we started to think about, because it's an unfulfilled potential, because when you look at other cities, when you look at the historical traditions, how it used to be in the city, what the role it was hugely important. And you were questioning what happened, like really, where this distinction came, that the rivers and the water culture became like really absent from the city culture. And what our goal is that to find a spot where river cultures and the city culture could become the complementing states, to helping each other and not inventing the city culture, but reintroducing it back to the city.
Maybe I should scroll for you then.
Oh, actually, it's okay. So about our working field. So we were starting working on understanding the field. Like I said, we were only focusing on one small spot on the case scenario, actually talking with the people. And what we noticed that usually people, they since they don't know the background, they cannot tell much. They can tell, okay, what you can do with the river, and maybe the boat, and maybe just to sit there. And the fantasy is limited in that space because they don't know the background, like what you can possibly do there. So we started to do local events in the very one spot in the city and just doing the trials. We inviting local dance groups, local singers to do the concerts. We even tried to do some water sports inside the city, not like recreational event, but the city event. We built one installation where people can actually sit and enjoy the river and to spend a coffee break or something there. But we're also focusing on the global view, because the river network is not like a one spot in the city. It's a network which is connecting cities, communities, people, ideas, and it's connecting, of course, Lithuania, but also it's a part of the Europe, and I will talk about this later. Okay, so we saw two problems about the river culture. It's a discontinuity of the river culture, because it, like all the time, it used to be a huge part in the city because of about the infrastructural problems. It was the main infrastructure spot, and also people were connecting through the river. And just like pretty recently, I don't know, like 50 years ago, it just suddenly stopped because of the physical changes and because of the cultural changes, because about the building of the dam, about really constructing a very hard edges of the river, like water banks. And like in one generation, people forgot what they were used to do by the river. And like, what is happening then? Yeah, so here you can see very simple comparison. It was like in 1938, where they really used to do the events, like huge events in the rivers, and it's present situation, you know, like it's a very hard, very bureaucratic way of solving like this connection. Okay, And the second big problem, so the first problem was the discontinuity of river cultures, and the second problem is broken social networks. Because people used to connect to each other, connect through the trade, through the transportation moving, and through the cultural sharings through the river. And yeah, and you could reach this way far further than by land. Okay, this is also some picture just to give you an image. So we had two ideas how to help rediscover. I'm not saying to create a city culture, but to rediscover and to look in a new light. So to find a new identity, to encourage and stimulate favorable environment for the development of new form of river culture. So it means there used to be a river culture, but that doesn't mean that you have to take the old culture and to repeat it again, because the society is different, times are different, technology is different. So we just need to stimulate this search for the new identity. And the second idea is to create a connection, to reconnect communities, because here again we are talking not about like a huge cities like a wall, but about really direct connections to the river and direct profit in a recreational way, in a connectional way, and in cultural way, to initiate and encourage a cultural network of waterfront elements. It's through communities, natural resources, logistical means, etc. And I'm not really friends with this. So we developed 4 tools for that. So first tool that you have to go, it's a memory tool, because all the knowledge, all the, like I said, like all the previous experiences is in the community and of course in the archives and everything. So you have to go there and then you have to find this knowledge. You don't have to come up with something very new, but you have to bring this up. A second tool is exploration. Like if something is lost, forgotten, what you do is you go on expedition, right? You act as like a Columbus, you know, going to America. You don't know what you are going to find, so you just leave all the pre-thoughts that you have about this, and then we are actually arranging a ship, and we are doing this in the city, in our region, just to really actually to photograph it, to film it, to look for the old locations of old photos, to trying to reconnect all active spots to the present. So also this feeling of adventure, it brings new ideas.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge, really. Yeah, maybe. So the third tool is a workshop, and again, like there are so many people showed today, like everything is in a community, everything is a people, and you're not going to come there and make the and you're not going to come there and bring them something, because they have it already there, and you just have to help them to show the means how to work with that. So and I'm really actually happy that Ed and Vita showed the picture from the picnic on the waterfront, because this is the thing that we are actually talking about, like to initiate community, to find how they are going to use their waterfront, like in a way. You don't come with suggestions that you do this or you do that, but you just initiate them to find their way to work. Okay, so the third
we are
tool,
remembering.
I know that's difficult.
Until
okay,
4.
Tool
It's
4.
coming. Great.
And tool 4 is reanimation, which means that this is the step where you have to leave it. You have to initiate the space, you have to work with the active members of the community and just leave them the space. It doesn't mean that all the spaces will be activated and super efficient, but you have to let some spaces to die and maybe find another ones because the community itself has to take over the space. We just have to give a little push and then maybe suggest some ideas and suggest some tools how to work. Yeah, it says that I should be finished, but I will take 2 more minutes. And the next. And the results that we are expecting, actually, the very important moment, what we are trying to say with this presentation, that the rivers today are a matter for a bureaucratic formal planning. It's staying in the transportation ministry or in the natural resources ministry, and they are just sitting there at the tables and, okay, you cannot do this, or let's develop this part. But this is not about a cultural use or social use of the space. What we are it's of course a parallel action. There are things that has to be done in a bureaucratic way, but there are also soft measures that you have to take into account. And if the local communities or artists and architects, with their help, not going to start to do it themselves in a soft mean, then nobody will do that for them. So in this way, these steps and tools that we are trying to form should empower the communities to take over. And the second slide. And to empower them to create networks, new networks, different ways to connect the societies. Okay, this time we are focusing on the Kaunas region. So, like smaller communities like Zapyškis, Kačerginė, Kulautuva could connect to each other, and because they will have to, like a same medium, a waterfront, a river, which is actually connecting historically, culturally, and like recreationally. And yeah, it's probably I'm not sure, but probably the last slide. Yeah.
Thank you.